Boom. Forgot I had a cold drink. It's warm today. Right guys, welcome back to Roberts & Co. I'm doing so many of these videos and every company's got their own Roberts. I have to remember what Roberts I'm at. Roberts & Co. Another live jewellery making session. We're actually making some jewellery today. For weeks, days, I've been live. No, there has been some rings involved, but for ages I've been making this sterling silver 2x1mm D-shaped wire, which will make 2x1mm D-shaped wedding bands, because a few weeks ago now I ran out of a couple of sizes of D-shaped ring and I ran out of wire. I've got that much left, so luckily no one ordered the two sizes we'd run out of, which is a size E and a size W, and because that would probably make an E and a W just about, you know, knowing my luck, if I'd have made the W, someone would have bought two E's or something, so, or two W's and I'd have made the E. So let's try out the new wire, see if we can actually solder it together. I always have, I've mentioned this in previous videos, but without filing poured and handmade wire, it almost acts like it's greasy or oily. It's not. You can clean the life out of it, but unless you file it, it's unlike. I don't know what bullion dealers do to their wire. Maybe they're just better at making it, but they don't make the right profile. They don't. Their D shape, almost all of it has a wall. So if you buy 2mm from one, you can't buy 2x1. It's 2.3 by 1.5 would be the closest. You can get sort of 2.1 in 9 carat and stuff like that, but it pretty much always has a wall. So I mean, obviously you can 2.3 by 1.5 is perfect for putting through the draw plates and taking it down to 2x1, but it's about, you know, £1,000 per kilo. Whereas if you buy grain, well, the price of silver is £600 a kilo, I think, or thereabouts ish. People quite often ask me the price of metals, and I put no, I have to look it up like everyone else. I don't know it. I don't study it. I'm not a commodities trader, so I have a rough idea. But I have to look it up like everyone else. It fluctuates all over the place. But yeah, the key point of that is, if the price of silver's one thing, the price of one way bullion dealers make money is turning the bullion into semi or finished products, and but you know, time is money, and them going just supplying you with 2.5, which you can then draw to your own shape, is not bad value for money. It takes a long time to do, you know, it's taken me 2 weeks. Whereas I could have had it within a day, you know, next day delivery. Right, YouTube copyright free music, and let's make some rings. Yeah, when you're sort of when you're manufacturing things, it is more cost effective to go from. I've got some here. I don't know why I've got some here, but that's silver grain there. That's how it comes from a bullion dealer. If you buy it, that's sterling silver grain. Again, that is probably pay a small premium for having the copper pre-mixed. We could buy. Well, we have actually got, and that is something I'm going to do with gold, because I want to make my own colours of red and rose gold. But you can go back at even a further stage from that and have 999 silver and 999 copper, and then mix 92.5% minimum fine silver with copper, and you've got that. Right, which one of these should we use? Let's start with the littlest one. Cut the end off and make a size E. The finger size E, we need 46mm-ish. Do I have a swage block in here? I'm not going to need those. It's been a little while since I've made a, it's over there. I'm going to need to stamp the inside. It's been a little while since I've made a D shape. A few weeks possibly, is it? Might have been a few weeks actually, yeah. Right, at the end of these wires, when they come out of the rolling and drawing process, you end up with like a little sort of V tail on them. It almost looks like it's split and cracking. I don't know if you can make that out, but they all end up, you have basically end up cutting the end off. Not, it's like a couple of mil, but it always ends up with this like sort of V. An unusable tail. And obviously the other end is completely mangled from being gripped by the draw tongs. But we can melt that back down in our next melt. Right, 46 and a bit mil. Do you know what? I think I'm going to make 2 of them. Right, that is knocked. I've marked that quite badly. What you should do is saw on the inside edge, so you don't mark the outside of the rim. So they're going to be a smaller size now. Do what I say, not as I do, you know, so in that case I do. Well, that'd be quite a small ring, that one. Right. I'm actually going to chop quite a bit of this out. There's like this. There's like this black oxide on this, which could just be fire stain. But the first time I melted this batch, I was having some issues with black oxides exuding from it, which the second melt I got rid of, and but then the first few times I annealed this, I quenched it. It was causing problems, and then I started air cooling and it solved all our problems, but I don't want to use that bit in case there are some problems with that It's probably fine, it's probably just surface oxide, but just in case, I can... I'll melt that down and use it on our next melt, because whatever that is, it will get... we use quite a lot of borax in the melt, and that'll clean out any oxides. And hopefully the next batch, I think I've sussed the best way of making. You've got some wire now, which you'd think I'd have figured out. Well, I did figure it out, but then I changed the way we were doing it to suit 18 karat gold, and it wrecked the way I was doing silver. Right, here are our ring blanks for the size E and one small one. I don't know what size the small one's going to be. It's going to be small though. Right, I want to stamp these 925 while they're flat. It's easier to do it while they're flat, and because I'm going to use a ring shank former, a ring bender, it won't distort the marks as badly. Well, it won't distort them at all. Which it can do. You can do doing it but other ways, like hammering it around a triplet or a mandrel. I've got a metal hammer here. No, you get a hammer. Oh yeah, I did have a metal hammer here actually. Check that. Personalised R&Co hammer. It's getting a bit dusty though. Everyone needs a personalised hammer, don't they? That was about 100 quid. Money well spent, as usual. In fact, no, I think it was more. I think it was about 120 quid. I don't know whether you'll be able to make that out, but they now all have 925 stamped in them in the middle. 925 for sterling silver. Boom. Right. Ring former. Small, are they that small though? Might be. Let's use a little one. No, they're not that small. Right, there's our rings formed. Now I need to solder them together. So flat half round pliers will close up the joints and then solder them. I'm going to use some hard silver solder. I'm going to file off the surface a little bit as well, just because it's about how clean this handmade wire is. It seems to, it acts like it's dirty if you don't take the surface off. Right, I'm going to run a saw blade through that joint. Just running a saw blade through it, getting nice and close. It's not bad, but it's not perfect. Just run a really fine saw. I don't know what saw blades in here. Probably thicker than. I was using 8/0s for a while. I don't know what happened to those. I think I've got to get some more. Yeah, just running a saw blade through a really nice close fitting joint, and I suppose it cleans the joint because it's leaving fresh metal. Yeah, it's a really good way of getting a joint. Better than filing the two ends independently. Although sometimes you get, you know, I've had it where it's close. Bizarrely enough, if you get it really close filing it, you can make it worse by trying to saw through it. Generally, if there's quite a big gap, it goes really well, and if you've got a really minute gap that you think you can improve, you make it worse. See, with this one, it's really close at the bottom, but it's almost like a V. It's probably about 1/2 mil gap at the top, and you want it flush all the way through. It would solder fine. It would solder together just fine. But it would actually, if I was to solder it without running the saw blade through like that, it would polish up, it would clean, it would polish. Technically, because the solders are different, especially the softer, the easier the solder you are, potentially the more zinc it's going to contain, the softer it may be, and you could drag the solder out of the joint a little bit and make it noticeable in that way. But it would, you know, to the naked eye, it would look fine without doing this. But what happens is, when it ages, quite often when it's new and polished and you can put it in a shop window, it'd look great. It's actually when it ages, the solder and the actual sterling silver are a slightly different alloy, so they tend to tarnish at different rates and a different colour, and that's when it becomes noticeable, not when it's brand shiny new. with age. And probably more so if it's not worn, because if it's worn it's all scratched and scuffed and work hardened and it all looks the same, sort of sometimes satin, sometimes matte. But it actually notices quite a lot if you polish them and then leave them in stock for a few years. It stands out like a sore thumb. So yeah, running the saw blade through it, you end up with a really thin seam of solder, which is even if it is left tarnished, is barely noticeable because it's such a waste of thin joint. You know, you're not doing it this way. You're not using solder as a filler. You are just using it to join the two pieces together. Use less solder this way as well. Bonus. Right, just want to clean off surface oxides. Seem to form with hand-formed handmade wire. It's almost like it's anodized. Which I don't think is a thing. But I managed to do it. Okay, let's ready to solder. Next one. Actually, let's do them one at a time. Right, flux. I'm using Flux Argotex, which is sort of a borax mix, and I mix it with mess, which is a mess, but it provides a really nice thick layer of flux. Which on silver is really important because it helps prevent fire stain or reduce the possibility of fire stain. This is hard solder I'm using, and this has been through the rolling mill I don't know how many times, but hard solder is really thick. Hard silver solder is really thick. It's a bit too thick if there are a lot of jobs. So for some reason, for some job at some point, I've rolled that out, and now it's quite thin. It's probably half the thickness it started out at. Seems to work okay. A lot of solder actually on the inside of that. And pull that through. pulled it through from the inside. Yeah, the solder tends to flow to the heat. Or it has a tendency to. Flow towards the heat. Right, I'm going to let that cool a little bit before I quench it. Actually, I'm not going to do. Stick it on there. It's a really fine file I'm using, cut 4 inside ring file. Just want to get the surface keyed up to the solder. It just seems to go all over the place if you don't do this. Whatever oxides are on there from the drawing and rolling process seem to repel the solder. Right, it's flux that solder. I'm putting the solder underneath the joint, because it's a really close fitting joint, it gets sucked up by capillary action. So on. I don't want the YouTube copyright free music's playing it at the minute. They must be on a budget. Times are tough. Spending cuts at Google. Soon we're going to be able to get the AI to do it, aren't we? Right, so that flux. So this is a really small one. I don't know what size this actually is, but we'll find out. Right, let's clean that first one up. Let's see what size we've made. That's a cloth. Look at that for a clean cloth. Yeah, the solder flows really weirdly on this. Cleans up alright. There's our freshly soldered ring. Quite clearly see where the solder is on the inside there. A lot of the solder flowed on the inside. Rather it was on the outside. So you can leave the excess solder on the outside when sizing it, provides a little bit of strength. Right, let's clean off the solder and size it. Right, I'm going to leave the excess solder on the outside. So it can break when you're rounding them off. Where did that go? Right, ring size. E1/2, that is. So we can size that down. I don't know whether a normal ring sizer does size E. By normal, I mean a modern one. Let's have a look. It's going to be on the limits of it now. Might just do it. YouTube music's getting weirder. E1/2. Gonna have to pull out the antiques. A little bit more. Can't take it anymore. That is it. There we go. There is our size E leading edge. E. And what this was is it was slightly over on one side and slightly under on the other. There we go. It's one size E done. Next. quite the blob of solder on the inside of this one. It beaded up or balled up in one spot on one side for some reason. Yeah, homemade wire behaves differently towards solder than bullion dealer wire. I don't know why. Technically it's the same stuff, but whatever processes they do or don't do, I've said this in many videos, you would not want to start. The best thing to do to learn is to reverse engineer everything. So we start off with bullion dealer wire and learn to solder with that, because it is easier, less challenging than using handmade wire. And then when you've figured that out, then you move to handmade wire, and then when you figure, well, then that is a massive learning curve in itself. If you try to go from just grain that I showed you earlier to a finished ring, first time, instead of learning it backwards. So the best thing to do is buy finished wedding ring blanks and polish them, learn to polish blanks, and then learn to make solder them from bullion dealer wire, and then, well actually no, yet. Before that, you'd be learning to use ring stretchers on bullion dealer blanks. Because they're quite often not the size they're supposed to be. They're close. But close ain't good enough, is it? Or you might need a half size or something. Right, 8.5. Might be too big. Ooh, that's perfect. Bit too perfect. Right, there we go. Another E, size E. Leading edge E. and it is leading edge. What I mean by leading edge, so the edge of the ring, regardless of whether you've got, this is 2mm, 3mm, 4mm, 5mm, 6mm. It's leading edge. It's not middle. It's not trailing edge. And I'll tell you why it is that. I sold ring sizing kits for many 20 years or something, and all the finger sizes that are made, many of them are slightly wrong, but that's a different story. All of the finger sizes are made leading edge. So if you start trying to make rings anything other than leading edge, it's going to be different to the way the tools for sizing people's fingers are made. So it's going to be wrong. And when we were selling them, we used to have that argument occasionally with a few, jewellers who were telling us how many, they've been doing it since 1912 or something, and they'd always done it that way. So we've always done it wrong, because we've always made them leading edge. And if they're not leading edge, send them back and get them redone. Yeah, we would get told occasionally. Well, I'd often have the conversation that we were making them all wrong, and it wasn't them making the rings wrong. So if someone gets their finger size using a ring sizer, it's leading edge. But it does very much depend. If they use a 4mm ring in the sizer kit, or in the wheat sheath kit, it might be 2, 3. I think they're about 3mm. It will be different anyway. It's a miracle that anyone ever gets the right size anyway. And luckily, people's fingers swell and depending on the temperature and what they've been eating, the amount of salt they've eaten and all that, people's fingers change. It's not that critical, luckily. It's more of, to some extent, I mean, there is obviously a point at which it will go over the knuckle, or it won't, but in terms of how tight people want, it's almost like a pair of trousers. As long as it's too loose, it doesn't really matter how too loose it is, it's too tight. There's a point where it's too tight and it won't go on. But beyond that, it's kind of personal preference. If you want it skin tight or baggy. Like you could give most people 5 or 6. If they're a size N, you could give them the 3 rings up and 3 rings down, and they probably find it quite difficult to tell which one was the right. They struggle to make up their minds. And if they came back and they were hot, their finger would be, or they'd eaten a massive dose of salt or something, and they change their minds, because the finger's diameter would potentially change. Obviously, when people gain weight, lose weight, to a lesser extent than your clothes, but fingers do still swell up and reduce a little bit body fat. Fat fingers. Or thin fingers. So yeah, maybe leave room to grow into it, eh? We have it, a B.5-ish. I'll make that a B. Yeah, the good thing about compressing them is, as opposed to stretching them up, which we could, you know, that is a B.5. You've got two choices really. You go either go up or go down. Going up, I find compressing the rings down. I always quite like whatever ring I'm making. I quite like to oversize it in the process and then compress it down, because compressing them makes them, not only makes them smaller in diameter and the right size, but it makes them flat. So they often end up quite wavy. And the compression gives them, the process of compressing them flattens them out and makes them almost machine, gives them a sort of machine-made roundness and flatness. In a way, it basically just gives them a nice, aesthetically, makes them look a little bit, well, it's closer to perfect than you can get with a hammer and a triplet. It just is. And I mean, these are nothing new. I think these ones were from, there's a blog post on Robertson Co. about, it's about, I think they might have started knocking these out in the 1880s. They were bankrupt by the 1920s. They still make them now, but there's something different, right? There we go, size B. Leading edge. Boom. Right, that's it. 3 quite small sterling silver D-shaped wedding bands. 2 we needed, 1 we didn't, but, you know, I'm sure it'll come in handy. Right, I'll see you in the next one. More rings. Toodles.